Welcome back for another helping of oysters, clams, and cockles, bringing you the best TV shows and movies weekly in an easily digestible podcast packed with laughs by myself, Ross Bolin, and my dear friend, Mr. Barrett Dudley. Barrett, say hello to everyone.
Hello. Can I offer any members of the clam fam out there a fresca?
Can I offer you a fresca? That's the new, Chris Hansen. You want to take a seat? But is that how they get people into their church?
It is.
With fresca?
With fresca. I got no idea where it comes from, what it's all about, but I was confused by it at first, and then they brought it full circle with Deep bringing in A-Train, and it just totally worked, and I laughed out loud at that moment.
We're talking about the boys,
good stuff
of course.
going there. We'll talk about the boys very shortly here, so I'll save any further thoughts until we get there. But yeah, just out here in the stewed, drinking frescas and talking to fish. Man, what else is there to do?
He didn't give me a fresca, just for the full record.
Mm-hmm,
I would have loved a delicious fresca.
Yeah, you know what? I swear to God, S2G. I thought about going and getting some frescas to bring into the studio today as props, but I just wasn't prepared enough, and I didn't give myself enough time.
You son of a bitch.
As per usual. And so I'm sorry that I don't have the frescas.
Well, maybe if I'd known there were delicious Triscuit crackers, I could have enjoyed some with you. On today's episode, we'll be covering Lovecraft Country episodes 6 and 7, of course, HBO's Lovecraft Country, as well as Amazon's The Boys Season 2, episodes 4, 5, and 6, getting all the way caught up on both Lovecraft Country and The Boys. And of course, we're opening with tidbits and such. But first, this episode of OCC is brought to you by Felix Gray glasses. Barrett and I constantly have our faces in screens from morning to night. Most of us do in 2020. There's no cutting back. This year has caused us all to rely more heavily on technology and screens and devices to stay in touch with friends and family and get our jobs done, and too much screen time results in tired, dry eyes, headaches, blurry vision, trouble sleeping. I've worn glasses and contacts since I was 12 or 13 years old, and I'm very familiar with all these symptoms living in the allergy capital of the world, now adding all the screen time in my life on top of that, owning a media company. It happens to me all the time, but not since I've been wearing Felix Gray blue light glasses. They launched in 2016 with the singular focus of offering the most effective computer glasses on the market with all the high quality of brand name designer frames. Quickly became the internet's favorite blue light glasses. I have their Faraday frames. I have their Nash frames. Love them both, and unlike other brands who use cheap blue light coatings that are ineffective and can chip or scratch, Felix Gray uses a proprietary blue light technology that's embedded directly into the lens. They're available in prescription, non-prescription, and readers, #proprietary. Felix Gray has you covered with optical glasses for work, sleep glasses in the evening that are clinically proven to increase melatonin secretion when worn leading up to bedtime. Why would you buy glasses from a company whose sole focus isn't making glasses? I trust Felix Gray because they make the best blue light glasses in the game. Go to felixgrayglasses.com/OCC. Get a pair of blue light glasses from the pros today. Shipping and returns totally free. That's FELIXGRAY. felixgrayglasses.com/OCC. And now it's time for tidbits and such with Barrett.
All right, Ross, do you want to start off tidbits? Would you like me to keep it here on our home ground, or do you want to take a quick jaunt across the pond, mate?
Take me across the pond.
Take you across the pond.
I've never been.
Will do, Governor. Will do. Let's start with everybody's new favorite show, Ted Lasso.
Oh, God.
Yeehaw!
How is this across the pond?
Because he's over there coaching in the English Premier League.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Who could forget?
Only Bacon Sudeikis and the one other coach are the only Americans on this here television program.
If y'all haven't seen our Instagram yet, one of our interns sent in a meme of Bacon Sudeikis, and it is just, it's next level. It's his therapist. Bacon Sudeikis isn't real. He can't hurt you. And then it shows Bacon Sudeikis in the street with his arms out like, what?
Like Bacon Sudeikis is real.
Like he is real, get it? And he can hurt you.
Okay, so I think
he's Ted Lasso.
You'll have to remind me. Did I talk about how weird it is to watch this show? How it's so nice. How this show is
I don't think so.
Okay, so it's really one of the interesting things about watching this show has been basically by watching it, it's making a commentary on how we've been taught to watch television over the last several years. because I'm watching this show, and every time like a character is introduced, or there is like, two people meeting in a room, or, basically anytime a new scene comes on, I'm like, okay, here's where somebody is about to get effed. There's about to be a twist. This person is not good. They've been bad this whole time. Like, I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop constantly with people being bad people.
Okay.
Essentially. And they're not. They're just, one of them's a friend and a confidant and encourages, her other friend to to make the right decision. And this one new friend that comes in, she's just an old friend here to hang out and have a good time. And like it's so warm-hearted. It's so good-natured. And I keep expecting the worst to happen. And I'm continually like
2020 got you, dude.
I'm continually rewarded by nice things happening and like people forgiving each other and being nice. And like, so it's so nice to like, it's crazy to think about how that's just not something we see on TV anymore, really.
Right.
Like everybody's got to have an ulterior motive or be a bad guy in some way, shape, or form.
This is just all good people.
We just can't have nice things. Like people don't make up. Like it doesn't like just work like that, right? It's like all so dark and heavy and like everything's bleak. And this show doesn't go there, and it's wonderful. And so the tidbit here is that I'm watching, and I paid a little bit more attention to the credits this time. Marcus Mumford, by the way, of Mumford & Sons, like does the intro song and apparently like
really?
had a big hand in scoring and picking all the music. So the music's also really, really good throughout.
Mumford falls into like the Dave Matthews category for me, where I love them, but I'm sort of ashamed.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
They've gone above that for me.
Okay.
Like I have no shame in the fact that I love Mumford & Sons, and I will go to Mumford & Sons shows until the day they stop touring, assuming that live
Which
concerts
was at the beginning of this year.
Ever a thing again. So I'm watching the credits a little bit closely here. Season finale is this Friday, by the way. And a name pops up as an executive producer, and that name is Bill Lawrence. And
Okay.
I said, oh, that's familiar. And I started thinking about it, and I said, isn't that the guy that did Scrubs? And it is. Bill Lawrence did create and write a bunch of Scrubs, which was an extremely warm-hearted,
Right.
kind, nice show.
Yeah, the other shoe never dropped.
No. And so it just like everything started clicking together that he co-created this show as well.
Okay.
And now that I know that, it's so obvious how much this show has in common with Scrubs. And I don't know how much Scrubs you ever watched.
I watched quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, like it was one that I would watch when it was on TV. Like I don't think I was. There might have been a season or two where I was watching the new episodes as they were coming out, but it was all over syndication when we were younger and kind of through late high school and college.
Right.
So I've seen
I saw a ton
most
of it in college.
episodes. Yeah. And it's always like Scrubs always had good messages and like people coming around and doing nice things for each other and basically seeing silver linings. So all of that, like we could absolutely use more of in this here year 2020.
Of course.
And so just Ted Lasso continues to be a great show to have going on right now.
Ted Lasso. Bacon Sudeikis.
Okay, let's move over to the baking bubble, as it were.
The baking bubble.
Just a quick note here. After the success of Great British Baking Show, Great British Bake Off, whatever you want to call it, there were a lot of copycats, right? They're
Sure.
like, oh, people like baking shows. People want to see cakes being made. And so one of these shows is called Nailed It, which I believe is a Netflix original.
Nailed it.
Nailed It is a show very popular in its own right that SNL has spoofed a few times. And I didn't really like have this all together when I would see these sketches with the Nailed It. They were always funny to me because like I'm familiar with baking shows, and so but the concept of Nailed It is like you're trying to do like a really elaborate bake, and inevitably it goes horribly awry, and what you're left with is something so bad it's like scary looking, basically. And so SNL, of course, takes that to the next level, and like somebody inevitably creates a demon coming from another realm because this cake is so horrifying, etc. Always played for great fun.
Good.
Well, so Bake Off, I mean, we're going on 10, 11, 12 seasons of this show here. So you can imagine that they're trying to do something new. So episode 1, which was last Friday, it's Cake Week, and they have everybody do a bust. Like, create a cake that looks like somebody that
Okay.
you've picked. This is week 1,
Okay.
mind you. So we've got 12 bakers in here, some not as good as others, trying to create a cake that looks like somebody.
So being a sculptor and a
Yes.
baker.
And I feel like they pulled this from Nailed It. And it was...
A bulpture.
There were, laugh out loud funny representations of people.
And now they
for
get to
these
pick any
cakes.
human being?
Yeah, it was like
Famous,
pick
any
an
human-
idol of yours and make a bust cake out of it.
So who did some people butcher? Like, do you remember any of the ones that were particularly disturbing?
There was
Did anybody do Zac Efron?
There was a Charles Darwin that
That is so fucking random.
was really, really weird. There was a
How into the dingo
there
do
was
you
a
have to be to pick
Lupita.
Charles
There was
Darwin?
somebody tried to do Lupita Nyong'o. Like, you can't just pick a famous person. I think they have too many beautiful characteristics. It's not gonna. You
That's
have to
very
You
difficult.
have to choose somebody that looks like very distinct, that has like knowable kind of weird qualities, right?
Yeah, like Gonzo.
Yeah, something like that. So somebody did Lupita Nyong'o. No, it did not look like Lupita Nyong'o at all.
What a fucking ballsy move. Hold on, I've got this. I'm going to do Lupita.
Oh, somebody did Charles Attenborough, who I believe is the British guy that narrates all the Planet Earths. Like, there were some really, really funny ones.
What in the hell kind of decisions are these?
Some stuff that was... Anyway.
Oh, David Attenborough?
David Attenborough, yes, thank you.
Sir David Attenborough.
Sir David Attenborough.
As it is.
It was certainly... It was a take, right? It was a... They had pulled this, I think, from this Nailed It show, but it was great because we've not seen anything like this on Great British Bake Off to date. So to add this humor element where people are just like botching it left and right and creating these horrifying presentations was pretty funny.
Love that.
Okay, moving on. Now we're coming back over
Across the pond
to the motherland. SNL returns this weekend.
Hey.
They are going to have a live audience.
Ooh.
It will be a live presentation. There are, of course, many
Limited seating capacity.
many rules, seating capacity,
Probably
masks on the
similar
whole
to the movie
time,
theaters.
temperature checks, the whole shebang. But they are going to attempt it in some form of its true sense, which
it's interesting. It's similar to sports, the things that they face with SNL. It's like, what if one actor gets it, or like, what if one fan or a person in the audience or
totally.
whatever.
Yeah.
Could be a camera guy,
Yeah, so I'm very excited to have SNL back in its real form, but my emotions are mixed on it because this is an election year. SNL typically really has a lot of success and draws big ratings in an election year. And like, I know they're going to try to do something with the debate because they have to, essentially. They can't just ignore it. And it's like, I almost don't want to see it. It was such an utter dumpster fire and catastrophe and like show of the current state of politics that it's like, I don't think there's
Dude, I think that's why you have to go at it.
But they've already had this issue where it's like borderline impossible to parody Trump.
How do you parody what is a parody
What is
already?
a parody already?
So yeah, no, it's a difficult task.
And so I don't know how you take what we saw on Tuesday night and turn it into something funny.
But you know what I'm saying? Like you literally have no choice. If you are the premier comedy sketch show in the country, you have to address the debate.
They will. They
right. And
they don't
cast
have a
Jim
choice.
Carrey as Joe Biden already, and we obviously know that Donald Trump is played by Alec Baldwin.
So it's yeah, it'll be really. This will be.
I'm stoked because of Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
He extinguishes all the flames for me that you're talking about. There is a piece of me that on the same level is like, I just don't know if I want any more exposure to this, even on a joking level. Because that was just such a train wreck. But Jim Carrey just being like one of my idols, and then I don't think I've ever seen him like he does impressions very well. And I've watched his old school stand up where he does it's just insane how he transforms into people. I'm so looking forward to him taking a shot at Biden and seeing sort of, because one of the things with Biden is, he's not a top-notch speaker anymore. If he ever was. He slips a lot, man. He's old as fuck. And I wonder how Jim Carrey will portray that and how much he'll lean into it in terms of like the senility.
Yeah. It is an interesting thing because with Alec Baldwin was a guy like that was never. He was never a sketch comedian, but he's hosted SNL lots and lots of times.
Yeah.
So they kind of brought him in as like a guest star, and it felt like that just kind of like turned into the job. Right now, he is like a recurring character on SNL. Like he is Trump.
Like, and that sort of feels like it's always the way those have been handled until this Joe Biden situation, where they literally, it sounds like they like picked.
Well, I mean, prior to Alec Baldwin, they would have had cast members do these roles.
Sure.
But so this is like on a new level where they basically announced that they had signed Jim Carrey to be
Amy Poehler
Biden.
Or like Tina Fey.
It's not like a pop-in.
Right.
And it does have the extra layer that like Jim Carrey like didn't make the cut for SNL and was on In Living Color instead.
Yeah.
And like has sketch comedy chops, has also hosted SNL multiple times, but like to see him come in and not just be like a guest host and actually kind of essentially be part of the cast here, at least to play Biden in what I'm sure will mostly be cold opens, but you know, we'll see where else they kind of utilize him. You're right. That part of it is.
I'm intrigued by that.
Yeah,
for sure.
So stay tuned for that. That's on Saturday. Okay, final tidbit from me here.
Now, do you have to watch SNL live?
Like, is it like a thing that I do?
No, I'm saying, do I have to watch it when it's on TV, or isn't it on Hulu as well?
It's on Hulu.
Okay, cool.
It's on Hulu the next day.
Got you.
Yeah.
Because I want to watch that.
Final tidbit from me here. I started Fargo season 4.
Okay.
And it's been met with mixed reviews. Apparently, I thought the first hour was really intriguing and really good. It's speaking of comics playing on TV. It's just fun to watch Chris Rock do anything, especially in this kind of role that's I guess you'd say against type for him. But my question here is really less to do with Fargo and more just a broader note. Why do you think it is? Why are we so obsessed with organized crime in our TV, in our film?
Because it's a fascinating element of humanity that groups of people
like it's not even that prevalent. It's not like it's like
no. You're right. That's the thing about it that's strange is it's no longer something that it's different now because of the internet and technology. I'll just put it that way. But the street level, like organized crime type of like mafia mob shit is just so ingrained in American culture in terms of entertainment. When you think to some of the great like how many mafia movies are there? Man?
That's what I'm saying.
It's
nuts. Like we consider 4 of the top 10 movies of all time, and I'm just throwing out numbers here. But obviously, I'm thinking the first 2 Godfathers and Goodfellas,
Godfather
and
Part 2,
a host of others, Casino. And what have you, but like we're just obsessed with organized crime, specifically when it comes to the mob. And I mean, I guess it just has everything. It has like heroes and villains. It has
it has the mixed element of the anti-hero.
It has the anti-hero, and it's got the drugs and the money and the guns and the violence. But like, man, we really just cannot get enough.
We can't
of mob stuff.
No, we can't.
Which is it's just strange to me because it's like, I don't know. I don't know. Like the fascination with true crime, for example. Like I understand that a little bit more than I understand like our obsession with the mafia and the mob in particular.
True crime, where can be gruesome, cold, grim.
That can be next door. True crime can be next door.
Yeah,
but you don't know if there's an axe murderer living next to you, basically.
But the element of organized crime is so glamorized.
Like I'm pretty sure no store, shop, business in the entire city of Austin is getting shook down at this point.
I don't think so either.
Right?
I don't think so either.
Like,
but there are cities where there's still a presence, and it's not about the
shaken down, shook down, shaken
either
down.
way. It's not about the, I guess, relevancy currently. It's about just the way it's ingrained in our culture at this point. And, The Sopranos obviously is another one that I need to mention if we're going to talk about organized crime and entertainment. But, yeah, it's because it offers everything and it gives you a complex vehicle to play with. And also people like watching characters fuck the man and defy societal rules and laws and get away with it. And there's always been that element of America, like the outlaw. You know, we've always idolized the outlaw, somebody who can operate outside the lines.
Right.
And like in the mafia, you get all that. You get all that mixed in too with the drugs, the sex, the violence, the money, the power, all that stuff. And I think especially for a lot of men, that's sort of the fantasy, right? To be so in charge and powerful or whatever.
Now, this is a good point. Maybe I have a hard time totally understanding the intrigue with it because none of my fantasies include being a crime boss.
And I wouldn't put it as a fantasy. I would put it as more of like this just, again, sort
like
of
some
glamorized,
type of like instinctual, guttural,
weird thing,
like,
yeah.
man thing.
Just because of the way it's tied into American culture so
Yeah.
much. And I mean, you think of just, like Capone, you know?
Right.
That's a
right.
guy that you grow up knowing was a gangster. But as even a child, you're like, there was something tight about that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really know why,
Right.
but you think about Al
Bonnie and
Capone.
Clyde.
Yeah, and you're like, man, there's something cool about that. Like
Forget
this-
about it.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but we're just,
Yeah.
probably in part because, like, fuck the police.
Do you want a quick pitch on the show?
On which one?
Fargo season 4 before we move on?
And I have one question as well, which
Okay.
is how's Chris Rock through what you've seen?
So I've only watched an hour.
Okay, one
he's
episode.
And he's very subdued, but he's still, to me, he's magnetic on screen already. And so like I simultaneously want him to have like a very meaty part to really chew on scenery and like play dramatic.
Sure.
But I also want them to like let him loose a little bit, like do a little
some
bit of
Chris
Chris
Rock
Rock
shit.
stuff because that's part of what makes him so electric.
At least from like
So-
an improv standpoint or something, but that show doesn't really operate that way.
No, so it'll be interesting to see how they do it. But through one episode, I just like watching him on screen in this period piece as a '50s era gangster. It's cool to watch. So the first 30 minutes of of this first episode basically is essentially they're setting up the organized crime scene in Kansas City, Missouri, and it's back and forth. One gang sets up shop, and then a new gang, typically from another type of culture. So it like starts with the Hebrews, and then the Irish come in, and then the Italians come in,
Okay.
and then Chris Rock and the black community comes in. So it's this, and they keep like replacing each other essentially. Now every time they've replaced each other, and we're shown this every single time one of these new gangs comes in. They do a sun swap. Are you familiar with this in any other gangster films?
No, I must have had it approached at some point, though, because I have an idea what it is.
So it's almost like, it's kind of Departed-esque. Or that's the vibe that it gives me. Because why I'm already kind of hooked through one episode here is every time these two gangs like come together and try to make a peace deal, the way they do it is by swapping their youngest sons to go live with the other group.
It's on like some, on some Theon Greyjoy and Game of Thrones shit, kind of.
Yes. And so what this now we fast forward to our setting of the show, which is in like the mid to late 1950s, and the two gangs here, the two crime organizations, are going to be the Italians and the black community, and
The entire black community.
well,
every single member of the black community.
I don't know what to call them.
Yeah, I know.
They're called the
Black Crime Family.
The Black Crime Family, yeah. And so you can just tell, because they set it up this way, that they can do like 15 different twists along the way here with all the sons that have been swapped over the course of the 50 years.
So they've got them planted already.
Because there's already there's like an Irish guy that's with the Italians, and now there's like a new
seems like
swap,
a really fucking
and like
stupid idea. All right. Here's the thing. Here's what we'll do. We'll set it up to where there's constant betrayal and treachery just automatically planted in to the story. Like, which, by the way, is another reason that writers love organized crime so much, and we get so many stories and movies and television shows that focus on it, is because it's like cheating for writers. All those elements you spoke to, violence, all that stuff, money, sex, all that drama is automatically added and assumed, right? The second you're in an organized crime situation, boom, bam, it's all there. A lot of it. Bada bing.
Yes.
Continue.
Yeah. So that's the pitch. That's kind of how the setup, and obviously there's far more to the story that's happening right now. But what kind of that base layer of all the sun swapping, I can just see the gears turning.
Sun swapping is such a funny ass term.
I can just see the gears turning in like the writer's room of like how this is all going to shake out and like how they're going to pull on these threads.
Hey man, you want to swap suns? Mine's fucking lame.
And so that on top of just like, having Chris Rock lead this thing along with Jason Schwartzman, who's always good in everything.
So Chris Rock is leading it. Like a leading character.
Yes.
Man, I can't wait to watch.
Yeah.
Cannot wait to watch.
That's all I got, man. You got any such bits and tids?
Yeah, I had a couple of such bits and tids I wanted to throw out. First of all, top filmmakers in Hollywood are finally issuing a call to help, a call for help from Congress, to Congress, rather. A bunch of groups representing movie studios, theater owners, and directors on Wednesday called on Washington lawmakers to provide relief, saying that they plan, the way they see it, nearly 70% of small and mid-sized theater companies are going to be forced to declare bankruptcy or go out of business without government assistance by the time this is all said and done. So dozens of famous filmmakers like Judd Apatow, James Cameron, Greta Gerwig, Christopher Nolan, Jordan Peele, Wes Anderson, Clint Eastwood, Ang Lee, they all signed this letter calling on the Fed to provide support for the movie theater industry, essentially a bailout, right? Which a lot is shuttered in a lot of the country, as we know. Like some of our theaters have started to open in limited capacity, but as Barrett and I spoke to during Movie Club last month when we went and saw Tenet, it doesn't seem feasible that this is a long-term way to operate. They just can't get enough people in to pay for the shit. The profit margins aren't there anymore. When you can't pack the theater, it's problematic. So obviously, this is a big deal, and we'll see how it's handled by the government as well as these top filmmakers in Hollywood, who obviously, a lot of them also have the means to do things to help prop up their own industry, you would think, considering the amount of money they have made. But, yeah, something we've been concerned about kind of from the get-go of the shutdown, something we'll continue to monitor moving into the end of 2020, as the movie theater industry is obviously very important to Barrett and I, and something that I used to go to probably 20 times a year has been reduced to once in 2020. And if you think of it from that perspective, they're fucked, right? Unless they figure something out or get some kind of bailout or a situation that can help them get through this, we will. I believe that we will lose a lot of those small and more mid-sized theater companies.
Yeah, the movie theaters as well as the music venues, and
music venues as well.
Specifically the small to mid-sized ones are in
big
desperate need of help. And
yeah.
Man, I sure hope they get it. Now, the thing with movie theaters, I obviously, feel for these small to mid-sized ones that are clearly in trouble. And I mean, even the AMCs and such have like talked about, being in dire straits. The thing is, I can't see, like, going to the movies is not going to go away. At some point in time, that will come back. It's not like going to the movies is just going to be.
It already is starting to.
It's just that's not just going to be something that dies out.
Well, but the thing is, if there are no physical movie theaters left for us to go to, it will die out.
No, because
eventually you think they rebuild.
People will start new ones once there's no pandemic, and so that's what I'm saying. Like,
is the question: are you supposed to naturally let it occur and then rebuild naturally, or do you prop up these theaters?
No, I mean I would like for them to prop up the current existing ones so that.
I do think that's a question, though.
Sure.
It should be a question, right? Is that part of the natural cycle of business in the United States, or do we prop things up and hold them up? And I know that's a question for a lot of people, but I don't know the fucking answer.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's just
it's a mess.
It's a mess.
It's a real mess.
It's an absolute mess.
Which leads us to our next such bits and tid, and our final one. Well, we have two. The Mandalorian season 2 starts October 30th. First of all, we're in the month. We're doing it. We're almost there. And also, the Walt Disney Company is restoring salaries of their senior executives to pre-COVID levels. Congratulations to the Walt Disney Company executives who laid off 28,000 people.
That's especially nice, yeah, for the 28,000 people that just got laid off.
I believe yesterday or the day before, from their theme parks, allowing their executives to have their salaries. Why would you not do maybe wait a week? Anything for the PR to look better than this. Yeah. That was legitimately like 2 days ago, and then the story breaks that their executives have been restored to pre-COVID levels of salary.
There's all sorts of stuff out there about this. This recession is set to be the most lopsided in terms of the people that are hurt by it
and the people that benefit from it
in history. So like it's just, I mean, the wealth gap was already something that we were
concerned
about
obviously.
here in the country. And like, this is going to make it so much worse because the people bearing the brunt of this recession and the people that like aren't able to work or aren't able to work as much or are losing clients or like aren't working at Disney World and Disneyland anymore. Like, it's not the C-suite. It's not the Disney execs.
No.
It's not the people that can work from home all day long for as long as they need to. Like, it's like we said with the movie theaters, man, this is just super, super effed. The whole thing is effed. And, I mean, my only silver lining is that, like, it's not just going to be the worst year ever for the next 50 years of my life. So at some point, whether it's 5, 10, or 20 years,
I'm really hoping this is
like something is going to, like eventually, like I'll be alive for a year that's just not total and colossal shit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's just weird because my thinking went from, man, this will definitely be the worst year I ever experienced, to, man, I hope it's only a year, to, man, like, it'll be tight if I get some of normal life again before I die. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know where the calendar is, but yeah, the one thing I am thankful for, and speaking of The Mandalorian season 2 dropping this month, is it does seem like we're getting a massive amount of television to watch, which gives me something to occupy my mind with.
Sure,
which is nice.
But like we talked about many months ago,
the drought
is coming. The drought is coming.
But I believe I will be backlogged enough with things like Better Call Saul
that is
to
probably
where I'm
true.
equipped.
That's probably true.
I'm equipped. Which, by the way, when do we want to do?
What I'm looking forward to, if we want to, we can just get ahead of this. We can go on Shark Tank and pitch this. Have you ever seen the movie Idiocracy?
Yeah.
Like with
Mike Judge,
with nothing to do. With nowhere to go, with no Disney Worlds to go to, with no movie theaters, they're all gone, no music venues, there's no festivals, we can't go to live sporting events. We just need to make those chairs that they have in Idiocracy, which are simultaneously a couch and a toilet. That way you never have to leave. You can just shit, bait, and watch TV and movies all at the same time, all on the same piece of furniture. And it's just, there you go. That's life moving forward.
I demand that those chairs have a podcast automatic podcast headset that comes out so you can listen to us.
Yeah, and then just we can just get a swivel screen on them too, so that you can just podcast straight from there as well.
Oh, you can also record your podcast because everybody has one. Everybody has one. But yeah, looking forward to The Mandalorian season 2.
Sorry, quick reversion, just back to the Fargo. I was just looking this up because I felt so weird. All I can find, they're just calling right now the Cannons. Chris Rock plays Loy Cannon. They're simply described as the all-black crime syndicate or the African-American crime family and all the things that I'm reading.
Okay.
The other ones, like when they were introduced, had like kind of, it was like the Moskowitz syndicate.
So nobody's just said the black community so far.
No, that's my bad. I was just like, I couldn't think of what they like. There's like these little cool things that like pop up and describe the family.
Yeah.
So we're just going with the African-American crime family or the all-black crime syndicate until
I like the latter. The all-black crime syndicate sounds tight.
Until they give us like a name for this organized crime unit.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you. Fair enough. All right, you want to jump into Lovecraft Country season 1, episode 6 and 7?
Yes. Let's go right into the Korea episode.
Okay, Lovecraft Country, episode 6, HBO, obviously. For those of you who aren't caught up, been a very interesting season so far. Barrett, I believe, episode 6, why such a transformative episode for you, or why such an important one to talk about?
Okay, so I'm still like...
Meet Me in Daegu was the name, right?
Yes. And... I think that overall, this show's ambition gets in the way of itself.
Overall.
Okay. Like it wants to do and say so much that I still feel like I'm losing any type of true narrative sense.
I tend to agree with that, but I feel like I've found the groove of peace because I had that the first 4 or 5 episodes where I was like, come on. What am I watching here?
Meet Me in Daegu, this episode in particular, however, was just like, because it was almost, you could call it a bottle episode, essentially, because it took one piece of this storyline and like never left and we didn't have Hippolyta, we didn't have Letty in this episode. It was just Tick and we got to pull up the name that Jamie Chung is playing.
I'll find it real quick.
But it was very singular, and it was it was a stunning accomplishment, this episode.
Gia?
It was
J-I-A-H is the name of the woman, the female.
Yeah, Gia.
Gia.
It was beautiful to watch. It was super well acted. I mean, is Jamie Chung the most incredible real world come up of all time?
Among them.
Like, is there anybody that turned her stint on the MTV reality show, The Real World, into like a more impressive career? Like, really?
I can't name another real world person who became an actor or actress, period.
I thought she was awesome. I thought the story was really interesting and had a lot of layers. And
she crushed.
And it was, it at least sort of explained what we were getting from her and Tick with the weird phone calls and the visions of her in the first half of the season.
That was very cool.
So it did do some explanation for like some of the things that he's kind of experiencing and like reverting to and like thinking back on while he's on this path to finding the Book of Names.
This episode also, it sort of brought me outside of the problem I was having earlier in the season, which was that, okay, so we're in this little tiny group of people and they're all fucking with magic and what? The rest of society just doesn't notice and there's no what? Like, just what? What is it? What is going on here? Well, there's a lot of magic around.
Yes.
This is a magical freaking world.
This is a magical world that we're in. Yeah.
It's everywhere. Yep. It's a lot of people and things, and there's a lot going on, and that sort of took me to a place of a better understanding for the first 4 or 5 episodes of the season. I also thought this was one of the most well-made. You could say what you want about this show storytelling-wise, but in terms of the quality of the way it's made, the only episode I had a problem with, and even from a visual standpoint it was still okay, was the Indiana Jones Scooby-Doo Adventure one. Just because it felt like, I don't know, it didn't blow my mind the way some of these episodes have, the way Meet Me in Daegu did. Like that was a ride. You were locked in the entire hour.
Yep.
It was freaking intense, and then it tied to everything that we've seen. So it was very well done, a very well done episode of television, and it really elevated the show for me to a point. Like, there have been a couple episodes that have elevated the show for me where I was like, okay, I'm starting to really get a feel for what they want this to be. And I do think it's overly ambitious. I think you're right on that. I think they've really reached on how many because that's where the confusion comes in, and it's like, what are we kind of doing? But I feel the overall, like, what they're attempting in this sort of adventure show that where anything can happen any episode, but then there's the bigger story, and I'm there. I'm at the doorstep to loving it again, to loving the show, like, and I'm excited to see what they do with the final episodes.
Yeah,
especially as a result of episode 6, probably the thing that's got me most excited, because they really showed their depth there, their ability to put together an episode that blew my doors off.
Yeah, and again, they brought in some great horror elements with the Kamiho, the nine-tailed fox.
Bro, that was fucking insane.
Which did some alien-type things when it exploded some dudes.
It's the way I want to go, though.
It was very, pretty intense, pretty horrifying. A lot of blood splatters. Man, we've got so many people's heads popping in the shows that we're watching currently.
Yeah, everybody's got to pop a head. And then, like, fucking it, which is, man, like, give us a break.
Yeah. But yeah, I was just, I think more than anything, like you said, that episode just had me hooked, man. I was glued to the TV. I thought it was super interesting. I liked the fantasy and the horror elements. I liked the explanation for both of these people, both Tick and Jiha.
Her relationship with her mother was like a wild element.
Yeah, and so it was just really good, and I mean, it was one of those episodes that, like, it finished and you're just like, whoa.
Yep.
So
shook me up.
Yeah. Now I'll be obviously that episode ends with a little bit more magic. We see the some type of wizard or wizardess, shaman of sorts.
I don't fucking
magic maker.
Magic thing.
Who is clearly like the one that kind of brought this curse, the Kamiho, down, right?
Mm-hmm.
And put her in the body of Gia. So there's still going to be more there. I don't think that we're done with Jiha and this piece of the magic world.
I don't think so either. It would be a terrible waste of an incredible episode establishing her. And just, man, the performance, again, like, she going to get more work from that, I would think.
I think so. Yeah, and I guess one question will be, she only needs one more soul, and she can turn back into a human woman.
And then she'll come be with Tick.
Maybe so. But then there's love triangle.
Big problem. Drama.
Okay.
Drama awaits. So let's talk episode 7.
Let's jump into episode 7.
I Am, which is the Hippolyta episode, right?
Yes. Yep.
Where did she get abducted by aliens?
It's hard to say.
It certainly is.
She goes through some type of portal thing and is suddenly locked in an all-white room with an
alien being.
An alien being.
Of sorts.
Now, does this all have something to do with the orrery, right?
I'm going to tell you, man. I don't have the slightest idea. If episode 6 wrapped me in had me wrapped around its finger again, episode 7 reminded me that this show likes to give me stuff that I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
What? I don't know what it had to do with. I know it was, again, visually insane. It had to do with the orrery somehow, but I don't understand all the talk of keys and what exactly this did to move the story forward. I don't even recall.
Yeah, so she's got the key from the orrery. How do they even end up at the observatory?
Don't know.
See, this is what I'm talking about. The fact that we are having a hard time
putting together
even what occurred in this episode is for me an issue to my overall enjoyment of the show.
Well, there have been 3 or 4 episodes like that for me. And then there have been the couple that have tied those episodes back in. So what I mean at this point, especially after episode 6, is that they kind of got me in a place where I trust them with things like episode 7, where I'm like, fine. If you want to throw the crazy shit at me that I don't really understand, as long as you give me a reason or tie it in or make it part of the bigger picture in a way that I think is really cool at the end.
Yeah. And I mean, so we did, Hippolyta goes through like many different phases here. She's in like many different, almost like dream states.
Uh-huh.
And she's got this ability, right, to like, what she learns from the alien being is that she can kind of like transform and move herself anywhere, that this is all kind of cerebral and in her head. And so that was like, once again, like visually very cool. And like, I loved getting Hippolyta, who the performance from, man, I don't want to botch this name. It's I've got it right in front of me.
Anjuane
Ellis.
Yeah.
Anjuane Ellis. I think that sounds right. And again, fantastic performance from her. Like really incredible. I especially liked the whole like dancing in Paris one.
Anjuane? I don't know. Fuck.
I like, but her being part of the dancing troupe in Paris.
Yeah, dude.
Falling into that,
kind of getting to live out these different random dreams.
Right.
It was
and
cool, like a
she's like
three-story episode.
So nervous at first, and then like we turn the page, and she's got the short hair wig, and she's like smoking the cigarettes and like hanging out at the after party. Like that was a total mood.
Making best friends with the chick that she was there to idolize and see in the first place.
And a great vibe. And then we had like the where she becomes Hippolyta, and the other the other warrior, by the way, I'm pretty sure was Sue from Veep.
No shit.
HBO always
they get their people, man.
Going back to their peeps, which is good.
That people at HBO meetings say things like, "We're a family here."
Yes, absolutely.
C-suite executives.
So I mean, it was like, again, it was a crazy ride, but I'm still a bit lost as to what exactly the orrery is doing and why that key took them to the observatory, and then like how they went through a portal and then what they came back for. Mm-hmm. And then I know where it's going to go. They were there. They had to kill the racist cops. They left the comic book on the ground. That's going to trace it. That's going to trace back to them. But yeah, it's just kind of a, I don't know. Like it like spun my head a little bit too much, I think.
It's what they like to do, though, is they give you these ones that in a vacuum are crazy and don't make a whole lot of sense, and you're like, man, how's that going to tie to the rest of everything? And then I think they've gotten good enough to where they will bring it back full circle and make episodes like this, which individually in a bubble by themselves are phenomenal and fun as shit to watch and ridiculous, and I'm just like, what is happening? And I loved the almost like Rick and Morty feel of like the 3 stories within one, sort of like she kept going to a different place, living out a different thing, you know, being Hippolyta Discoverer, being Hippolyta George's wife. It was just a cool Hippolyta episode.
Yeah, and again, back to this ambition thing. The scene with Hippolyta and George, I'm glad you brought that one up, where she basically says that she can be anything, right? And like in some ways being George's wife like kept her from being as big as she wanted to be. Like,
and that George sort of
allowed that
reverse
to happen.
enabled that. Yeah.
Yes. Like that was, I loved that exchange. That was like a super interesting idea. And
well,
so
I think that's something so common in relationships.
So I loved that I loved that aspect of like Hippolyta finding this empowerment, but it's almost like if they just played it a little bit more straight. Like I would have just, I almost would have rather had more of that than so much like craziness and world creation and like, you know, and that's kind of what I'm saying. Like they want it all, right? And it all looks good, and it all tastes good, but it's like I'm too stuffed at the end, and I don't know what I just ate.
That's how I feel. I know that's a great analogy, man. It's an overwhelming meal. It is.
So,
it's you know, we always open the show with like another helping of oysters, clams, and cockles. This is like 9 helpings in one episode.
And like I forgot about that little scene with her and George, arguably the most important in the entire episode. Because I'm like so focused on trying to remember what happened in the all white room where she like shrinks down to being little, and then like what she's doing when she's about to go to war, and then how she became like friends with the French dancer.
I was feeling a little spacey. I just remember enjoying it.
So that, yeah, it was just kind of, it packed in so much that potentially like one of its like core messages was almost, kind of got lost.
And that's the thing that we've kind of found the show teeter on that line of several times. You know, are you overwhelming us with this craziness, and it's like you're losing the message? But what I'm arguing is that with episodes like 6 where they tie things back together, I am going to continue to be just as excited each and every week to see what brings what.
Yeah.
And I believe we got 10 episodes of this season.
Yes. Yeah, 3 more to go.
So
just
they have enough to work with.
A quick few notes on other stuff important that happened in this episode. Tick is distraught and not cool about finding out that his dad's gay.
Right. It was an interesting element.
Was.
To be sure.
Yes. Probably true to... I liked that the wrinkle,
the reversal of what you would have expected normally to happen before.
Right, but also probably true to like what somebody in 1952, like how they would have reacted to that.
Sure.
You know, like before there was like acceptance and understanding of sexual orientation, essentially.
Yeah, and that's been an issue that's become more and more prevalent, in particular in the hip hop community over the past handful of years. That is very prevalent still. That is very, very much something that as a community, hip hop has been very slow to embrace, even with historically having artists like Frank Ocean, like Sam Smith, I don't know if you put Sam Smith in a hip hop box. I would with a lot of his music. You still have levels there. It's a weird thing. It's a really weird issue. So I thought it was interesting to see it play out the way it did for sure. And to have that wrinkle in their relationship now is interesting. And Tick has kind of been this infallible character so far, right? He hasn't really done anything where you would really disagree with him or...
Well, the last 2 episodes, 6 and 7. We watched him murder some people.
Okay, sure. True enough.
Commit some war crimes, potentially.
War crime-wise, he hasn't had exactly the cleanest record. But he's our good guy, right? That we're rooting for, whatever, our protagonist, one of them anyway. And then you put it's a spot where you're like, God damn, man. Like,
yeah.
That's your dad.
And then also Letty is pregnant.
Oh, that's just the side note. Yeah, Letty's pregnant. No, no big deal.
Yeah.
Just a little extra added drama there in case the aliens and shit weren't enough.
Yeah. So yeah,
Good stuff though. Having fun.
I almost feel like I need to rewatch this episode.
I'll see how I feel after I see the last time on Lovecraft Country.
Yeah. I feel like I
You missed everything.
Maybe I missed something.
You missed everything.
But-
Barrett. You got to rewatch.
Okay.
Yeah, I caught it all though. All of it. All right, let's talk about The Boys.
The Boys.
The Boys, episodes 4, 5, and 6. Good Lord. The head squishing, the violence. Where do you want to start?
Let's start with you being right
about Homelander and
Homelander
Stormfront.
And Stormfront
Getting it on.
getting it on.
Great call from your boy. Now, I did not predict that they would be having the type of coitus that they've chosen,
No.
which is mostly blood-smeared and violent and disturbing. That being said, I do feel good about my call. Also, she's a Nazi.
Yeah, which I think we kind of knew they were going there.
Because once they were like, they told us she's been around a long, long time, and we already had the V and the weird ties to Vought being a potential Nazi and the way the Germans experimented on people in World War II era. It was all these elements that you felt like kind of like they might go, and then here we are.
Yeah.
She was born in when? 1909 or
1919.
1919.
She's about 100 years old.
1919.
The racism from her obviously was a giveaway.
Yeah.
And it just felt Nazi-ish, and then the half-shaved head was also, I feel, kind of like...
Very skinheadish.
Yeah, and then her costume even...
Has a little Nazi flair to it, sort of.
Yeah. Yeah, it reminded me of the Nazi villains from the Captain America movies. It's like this black and red kind of leathery look.
Yeah, the SS and the Nazis, they had a real specific fashion.
Yeah. So her tone was just kind of Nazi-ish for a while, and in this most recent episode, we get full-on confirmation of the
Nazi history there. Now, one of the things that we see presented often to represent Nazis sort of in a present day is this forward-facing, really nice, hey, use it like regular person, and then secretly they're a Nazi. What was that show, Hunters?
Mm-hmm.
That was the play there. These Nazis are all regular, everyday people that have integrated into society, and you would never know otherwise. And they have weird ways of being racist and doing their strange racist things. Obviously, in this show, she's pretty upfront about it. But anyway, just really interesting wrinkle. Obviously, not a shocking one, but a cool one. The way he accepted it, I found to be kind of lame. Like, he didn't really respond to her telling him all that. He just kissed her like, I love you, and this is hot to me. I guess we're not supposed to know what he thinks about what she told him
Exactly.
yet.
That's right. I got the feeling
he might not like
that
this.
I don't. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that as awful as Homelander is,
He does have the weird...
That's the wrinkle, is that he's going to be like, yeah, but I'm not actually like a racist.
I'm not a Nazi.
I'm not a Nazi.
I'm just Homelander.
And, well, okay, I take that back. He is definitely a little bit. He's xenophobic at the very least.
For sure.
So probably a little racist too. But the full-on
extermination of a people,
genocide, like you're our Aryan ideal, which I thought was also like a good tie-in. Like when she's like, you're exactly what we've always been wanting, makes a little bit more sense why they made that hair a little blonder and those eyes a little bluer this season, right?
Indeed it does.
So yeah, I think there's going to be a bit of a conflict there where he's like not totally on board with this whole genocidal Nazi
pure Aryan race extinct everybody else.
Let's make an army of 1 million people to just like kill everybody else and run this bitch. So we'll see what happens there. Let's see what else we have. We've got the boys are finding out about some stuff. We've got people being experimented on with the Compound V, turning them into all sorts of superhumans. One, Linda, I believe her name is, or was it Cindy? Nope, it's Cindy. Cindy has a very terrifying power to crush things
with her mind.
If she can see them, I believe is the
wrinkle there.
She got to see it, then she can just go. Yeah,
Darth Vader-y.
This show, man. God, this show loves its gratuitous violence.
Oh,
it's like purposely trying to desensitize you to it.
Yeah, you like that? they're smearing the dude's blood on each other's faces while they're banging up against the wall in an alleyway.
We've got the full-on head pop, and then multiple people just getting squished.
By the way, shouts to the OG head popper.
The Mountain?
The Mountain.
Yeah.
He took that straight out of his playbook.
So it's I get it, but it's almost like, I think they're trying to get you to confront how much you're okay with as far as all this violence, but they go to such great lengths that they do actually, it takes away a little bit. Like I know now, like they've taught me how to watch, right? Like I know now that in The Boys I'm gonna see like some stuff that is so horrifyingly gruesome and awful and nasty that I'm just going to compartmentalize it and be like, it's almost like they're trying to be funny with it.
That's the comic book element to me.
Yeah.
Like it's so over the top that it's like Sin City almost, where it's just like ridiculous, and it doesn't strike me as disturbing as much as it's like comedic and gross, sort of.
But don't you get the feeling that they kind of want it to be disturbing?
I don't know, man. I really do think that's just such an element of comic book culture. Like the violence on the pages in the drawings had to be over the top to sort of get the visceral reaction that you would from seeing something like that. And then they make it that, like they sort of trace that in the way that they make their violence and their fighting and their killing in these shows and in these movies and TV shows that are inspired by graphic novels and such. There tends to be this element of really gratuitous violence. Plus, as we always say, HBO is already there, right? I mean, so like Amazon now has a show that goes there, sort of. Like HBO has always been the network where you expect the gratuitous violence and the nudity and the head popping. Amazon is doing more of at least the head popping with The Boys. I don't really know if they have like a nudity show.
Yeah.
I don't know that anybody will ever be full Game of Thrones nudity the way they were the first couple seasons again, because they got flamed so hard after the fact. Like, why does there need to be titties in every scene?
Yeah.
In every scene. Now, I never asked that question, but there are people who did.
Yeah. They got called out for it because the series continued to then like mistreat women, I think, in a way.
As characters?
Through its like writing and its character development.
Yeah. Yeah. Not good.
So, and then they,
If your overall portrayal and messaging of women is that they're just there to be nude, that's not great.
or killed.
And or murdered, yes.
Yeah.
Not good.
Yeah, so what else? So we got The Boys. They find that stuff. Huey finds himself in a dangerous situation. We get a little backstory from Frenchie about what happened with him and Lamplighter. Lamplighter costume, very funny. That made me laugh.
The staff.
The
staff is epic.
I liked that.
You shall not pass.
Just to jump around a little bit, if that's cool.
Please do.
Episode 4, we get Homelander before he has a coitus partner doing the sucky to himself.
One of the more
with Doppelganger.
Almost.
One
of the most disturbing, hilarious, and then please make it stop scenes I've ever seen on any show or TV or movie. Man, yeah, and then he doesn't need Doppelganger anymore, and he kills him.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Doppelganger, who really, really went all out for Homelander and should have been better appreciated.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he was willing. He was willing to do anything.
He really was, and Homelander didn't appreciate that enough, man.
Yeah.
But now he has his Nazi sexy partner. At least he did for a couple episodes. Now we'll see if he kills her.
Yeah.
With his laser eyes.
And then 5 was the track down a depressed butcher, meet his drug dealing grandmother.
Yes.
Face off with Black Noir.
Yeah.
Reveal that he has some type of video footage of or something or other of the Superman baby kid.
Indeed. Butcher upset because wife want to stay.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Wife like new life.
Yeah. Oh.
Don't want to go with Butcher.
Episode 5.
Butcher doesn't want son.
Also, while we're talking gratuitous violence.
Stepson.
We get a face ripped off.
Oh, yes.
Straight ripped off.
Oh, face.
In episode 5.
Face off.
From Kimiko.
Yeah.
So that was nice.
Kimiko went there. She also bought herself a lovely...
a bossy
knuckle ring.
I liked that.
Which she Fucking love that. Love that.
Yeah.
She's one of my favorite characters.
She's great.
She doesn't say much.
I mean, where do you see the rest of this going? What do you think's? Tell me this. Oh, before we go,
we didn't see much of
before we go there,
Esposito in these episodes. By the way,
I just want to say that my favorite piece of this of the show right now is the Church of the Collective and Deep recruiting people, as we referenced at the top of this podcast. But I'm very, very. That's the most interesting part to me too. I want to see how the Church of Collective is going to
tie into all this.
Yeah, because they keep promising these guys like Deep and A-Train.
We'll get you back in.
That they'll get them back into the 7. But I don't think that's where it's. I don't think that's happening. I think they're converting them into pawns for their own game. But what is that game? We're not really sure yet.
Or is there a connection between Vought and that church? Possible.
And we know that Stormfront was either once a part of or almost a part of the Church of the Collective.
Here's why I believe there's a connection. Besides the point you just made, which I think probably confirms it for me, they wouldn't just let the Deep be off in this place unchecked unless they knew exactly what was going on. So it has to be something that they're all in the loop on.
That's a good insight.
Now, to
this
what
is
end
like an avenue that a way to keep control of
their superheroes
of essentially washed up superheroes.
Yeah, and have them then to use for their own means, right?
Right.
Behind the scenes. Not as part of the 7, though.
Okay.
I definitely don't think it's as part of the 7. I think it is.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where they plug them in and what they get them to do.
Yeah. A couple of little fun Easter eggs, little moments from the set of their Avengers movie is what they're basically showing us there.
By the way, if you don't see this coming, the Deep inevitably having to do something terrible, which rips him apart internally because he has become a good person, or he thinks, is going to be hilarious.
Yeah.
I look forward to that. Continue.
So much of these episodes takes place in people's trailers on the set of this superhero movie, which is basically like a big Avengers movie.
Yeah.
And they throw a couple little references there. They're very self-aware. Homelander mentions that there was there was a Joss rewrite, which is he's referring to Joss Whedon, who directed at least Avengers: Age of Ultron, maybe the first one too.
They're good at working in these jokes that are real topical and relevant. And
then was
pop
brought
culture.
in. He's the one that finished Justice League after Zack Snyder had to leave.
Pop.
Joss Whedon is why we're getting release the Snyder Cut.
Georgie?
What?
Huh?
Where's that from?
I'm derailing.
You're just riffing.
I'm just
And then Stormfront had a coffee cup, a Starbucks cup, and her name was written on it, but somebody had written Storefront because Starbucks always gets your name wrong. That was a nice little thing.
Oh, jokes. See, this show's funny as shit, man.
Yeah, it's very good. And okay, now on to larger questions. Through 1.5 seasons now, we haven't really lost anybody major.
That's a good point.
We lost Invisible Man or whatever his name was.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cared.
We lost Lube Man.
Who now?
Lube Man? Was that this show? What show was that?
That was Watchmen.
That fucker slid down that drain. drain.
Yeah. He's not lost. He's just in the sewers.
He's just in the sewers. He's Lube Man.
So it doesn't.
Yeah, it feels inevitable.
It feels like we got to lose somebody. We got a lot going. We got Maeve is not in a good spot with the whole trying to protect Elena and the video of her and Homelander on the plane. Got to think that video does not see the light of day. Probably not good for Maeve, nor Elena. I'm just curious.
They're in grave danger.
Stormfront and Homelander, not sure they can coexist for very much longer.
She's in grave danger because Homelander's not going to die. Sorry.
Yeah.
We're on season 2, bro.
So I'm just kind of curious as to like what you think.
Who could go?
Any foresight into how the back half here is going to play out?
I think Huey was sort of presented as our main character in season 1.
Yeah.
And he's sort of taken a back seat in season 2 to watching a lot of other characters' stories unfold and backstories unfold.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can lose Huey.
I don't think so either.
I don't think you can lose Butcher, especially after giving us the threat of losing Butcher last season.
Huey is the son of Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan. You can't kill that kid.
You cannot. I don't think we can lose Homelander yet. I think he's a big bad that needs to stick around till at least seasons 4 or 5.
Yep. Okay.
So I think that puts Stormfront directly in the crosshairs of being removed this season. But she wouldn't count to me as a main character. She's somebody they introduced this season that I wouldn't be shocked to see go at all.
Could you see her having a 2-season arc?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, of course. I could see them finding a way to flip it and stick her around. But one of the people in The Boys is going to die before the season ends.
You think we lose Frenchie or
Mother's Milk or Huey or the Butcher or what's the chick's name?
Stormlight?
What?
Starlight.
Stormfront and Stormlight?
Stormfront, Starlight.
Stormlight, huh? No, Starlight or... as I've said, though, I don't think it's the Butcher. I don't think it's Huey. Starlight, maybe... Because they got to give a crushing blow at some point in the form of a death of a major beloved character,
This
as
show
all
is
good
so
shows
raw,
do.
so bloody, so ultra-violent
It would be insane if they
that
all
I
just
can't
continue to
imagine
survive.
them not continuing to let all of our
Yes.
players survive.
It's not a thing that will happen. And I think before the end of the season, we'll see one of our main people go. I just am not confident they're going to be willing to let go of Huey or the Butcher or...
Right.
So,
right.
like, Frenchie, I'm scared for. He's a guy I could see them losing.
Yeah.
Mother's Milk, I'm scared for. Kamiko, I'm scared for. Starlight, not so much. It's like that's too important of a character. I think they need her in the 7 for more.
I could see Maeve being the sacrificial lamb here,
I could see her going too.
and them kind of being like, that was a big enough character.
But that's kind
nobody
of,
else.
That's kind of a
Cop-out?
kind of a cop out to me.
Yeah.
Like I feel like you really got to get it. But we'll see. We'll see. I also don't like, just from the perspective of like, is like what, Maeve's gonna die because she's gay? It's just kind of,
right.
I don't know. I don't know that that's a necessary storyline. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't
no,
know. We'll see what
you're
they
right.
think.
That I'm sure that would get some blowback.
Which is unusual because it would represent...
Reveal one of your characters to be gay and immediately kill them off. Yeah.
Yes, but it's unusual because it represents the obvious strife and struggle
Sure.
of gay people in the United States in particular in this show. But at the same time, what you just said is very problematic. To introduce a character as closeted gay, have that be her problematic story arc, and then have that be her demise in the same season, and their 2 seasons of the show would be pretty fucking brutal.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the route they're going to go. So while Maeve could be a red herring, let me put it that way. We haven't seen enough of our new leader at Vought. He can't die yet. They didn't bring that dude in to kill him off after like a few scenes in the beginning of season 2 and not utilize him.
Esposito?
Yeah. Right?
I could see him going.
Okay, maybe you're right. Maybe
He likes to bounce around from show to show.
True. Maybe he's a little bit of a red herring.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
in there, but he's not.
Yeah. Like he's kind of like I think we're led to believe that he's more powerful than he is. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
Like,
I don't know.
and
I'm backtracking now.
We talked about this in season 1 a little bit too. One of the interesting wrinkles in this show is like, could you really contain Homelander? Why doesn't Homelander just kill anybody that gets in his way? Why does he need like?
That's one of the things. They
I
got to
think
introduce a wrinkle there at some point.
I
They
think
gave
that they've
Superman
given him-
kryptonite.
I think they've given him this like, he so desperately wants to be admired and loved. He needs the adoration of the people, and that's why he doesn't go off and like do his fantasy where he just kills everybody in the crowd.
whole
there,
crowd.
Right? Like that's what stops him. But it doesn't change the fact that that Homelander is essentially the most powerful person in the world.
He's up
and
2 points in the polls.
And could literally just axe anybody
yeah.
that got in his way, and it wouldn't matter because there's not really any stopping him.
Which, again, is a problem for the storytelling. At some point, they have to have a kryptonite for Homelander, or he is an unstoppable force.
I would just like more explanation in general as to, and I mean, I
Maybe
know that
Stormfront gets a leg up on him somehow.
They've tried to do this a little bit, but like, why are any of these superheroes containable, controllable?
I think it's different with that part of that is what the Church of the Collective is doing for guys like the Deep. They've got shit on him. You know? They're going to have all this shit on him to keep him under wraps. But for guys that have... It depends on their powers, too, obviously. I'm wondering now if maybe Stormfront becomes sort of what... Maybe she knows a deterrent to Homeland. Think about it. She's so old, man. She's lived through all this shit. She just now comes back into the picture, right? she surely knows how powerful Homelander is and how dangerous he could be to her if he turns on her or if she upsets him, right?
Yep.
There's got to be a backdoor. There's got to be something else there, a twist or something she's got on him. It can't just be, I'm going to lay it all out for you. I'm a Nazi. Please love me and don't kill me. That is so fucking not enough. Like, I think she'll be more diabolical than that. So I'm curious to see if she has some way to hold him in check or use him or be able to hold him, you know, based on something she knows or has, or I don't know. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
More Rinklage could be there.
Yeah.
Peter Dinklage.
Mm-hmm.
That's enough for me.
That's all I got.
The Boys.
The Boys.
So,
I like the show a lot. It's fun.
I love it.
Yeah.
I fucking love it. It's great. We got a couple left or 4? Is it 10 or 8? Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
Somebody knows. Somebody. But that will do it for today's episode of OCC, produced by Mike Moody Garcia of Permanent Record Studios in Austin, Texas. We will be back next week to continue discussion of Lovecraft Country with episode 8, of The Boys with episode 7. And Barrett, do we want to get back into a little bit of Yellowstone next week?
Before we announce anything, I would just like to say,
okay,
if you are watching this on YouTube, give your YouTube link.
YouTube.com/BolinMedia.
I don't want you to be confused. This was an episode of Oysters, Clams, and Cockles. It was not an episode of the Ross Bolin podcast.
Why is that?
So don't think.
Oh, because we have the wrong...
so don't think.
They can fix that in post.
Can they do that in post?
Yes.
Oh, that's phenomenal.
Oh, you didn't even need to acknowledge it. just ignore the last 10 seconds. No, we had the wrong little banner up on our video, but that's...
I just didn't want anybody to be confused and be like, why are they talking TV and film on the Ross Bolin podcast?
What is happening? That's Barrett.
Yeah. I think that we can jump back into Lovecraft. I mean,
Yellowstone.
Into Yellowstone.
Old Clamstone Ranch. Look back up at the big sky.
Yeah. It's time to get back
on
back
that
to
horse.
Montana.
Get back up on that horse.
I've been missing those beautiful stars shining so bright up there in that big sky here in Montana, big sky country.
It's the only feature of Montana, if you listen to this show, is that it's got a big sky and stars in it.
Yeah, man, I told you how much Montana's just popping up everywhere recently.
It is.
I got something from a hotel chain I get marketing emails from that's like 25% off if you stay 2 or more nights in our Bozeman suite.
Come out here to Montana.
And you know what? I want to go.
I do too.
Can we expense it? We can expense it.
I think it's
right?
research.
That's research.
That's
it's
show-related
it's for content.
That's show-related
That's
research.
Business.
We should maybe
ethics.
actually do this. Send me this link. Send me this link.
I will.
But yeah, okay, so let's say at least Yellowstone Season 2, Episode 1 next week.
Yes.
The Boys, new episode. Lovecraft Country, new episode. We'll leave it at that. If we get to more Yellowstone somehow, yay. If not, at least Episode 1, okay? Huge thanks to our sponsor today, Felix Gray, felixgrayglasses.com/OCC, to support them for supporting us. And if for some reason you're not looking to get the best blue light glasses on the market, then you can support us directly by going to patreon.com/oystersclamscockles, where a minimum pledge of just $5 a month will get you 3 additional episodes, ad-free episodes, premium episodes, exclusive episodes of this podcast each and every month on Patreon, which is simply a platform that affords us the ability to circumvent advertising and bring you more content, more podcasting, more episodes in exchange for your direct support. You can be part of the Crustacean Nation and get 3 episodes. You can be part of the Mollusk Militia and get a 4th episode every month. You can be part of a multitude of other tiers that we have now, including Movie Club, where you only receive our Movie Club episode, which is readily available to both Crustacean Nation and Mollusk Militia members every month. You can join the Wiretappers and only get access to the Mollusk Militia Hotline Call Extravaganza, which is one of our more popular and fun episodes every month. You just don't have the ability to call in if you're not in the Mollusk Militia. Wiretappers noise.
Wire.
One of them we had last week. Love the Wiretapper. Shouts to the Wiretapper.
Did you check?
It was one Wiretapper.
We had one Wiretapper.
That's why
You have your own sound effect, Wiretapper.
That person has to be just loving life right now. If I was you, I'd be utterly thrilled.
I mean, you can. It's not too late to get in on the Wiretappers, and it's just you and a few people that have your own sound effect. That's still cool.
That's still cool. That is still cool.
We're shouting out like 3 people, to have us just be talking to 3 people specifically right here. They're probably they're probably all named Tyler.
They probably are on part of Tyler Nation.
So shouts to all the Tylers and all the Wiretappers.
You know what I heard?
There.
I heard the only person in the Wiretapper tier last week was Tanner Lannister.
Yeah, who's reappearing as Tannister.
Tannister.
as Tanner Dutton, right? We just haven't seen him yet. I think he's supposed to make an appearance in season 2.
A goddamn Tanner Dutton.
Tanner Dutton.
Yeah, he
he's
couldn't
just
even
back.
keep his
He's
ass
just-
on the ranch. He couldn't
No.
stop knocking up. I'm not even going to say what I was going to say.
I mean, Tanner Dutton, he was,
Horses.
look, he was going skiing in the mountains a little too often, if you catch my drift.
Hey, I catch your drift. He had to go to he had to go to rehab because he hurt his nose. Just like Kenny Powers.
Now, the good thing is that Nevada, known for just some beautiful rehabilitation centers.
Yeah. They also have the Vegas in Nevada.
Well, that can be an issue.
The Vegas can be an issue.
If you don't think that Tanner Dutton was sneaking out of rehab and hitting up the Las Vegas Strip,
The Vegas.
the Vegas, you are quite mistaken.
He's there.
He's there right now.
Right fucking now.
He doesn't care about no COVID, no pandemic.
No police.
He's just getting lit in Las Vegas.
Tanner Dutton.
Probably coming back, make a whole damn scene at the ranch next season.
Probably wake up tomorrow and have a tattoo and not even know where it came from.
Yeah.
Tanner Dutton.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so hit patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles and get more OCC every month.
Look,
Tune
you know
in
what?
for Yellowstone, Lovecraft, and The Boys next week.
Today, we're recording a little bit later in the week than typical.
We are on a Thursday.
That means that today, it's already the beginning of Creepy Month.
It's October 1st. Yeah, creepy, spooky horror.
31 more. We got 31 days of Creepy Month.
Horror thriller month. Yeah, creepy, spooky horror thriller month.
And that means I know we have some horror fans out there. You know that Movie Club
Hell,
this month,
it's gonna be
and Creepy Month will be
it's gonna be a scary one.
something creepy.
Ooh.
I already know what picture I'm using for the Patreon post about
Make your best ghost noise.
about Creepy Month. Do you know which picture I'm using?
Nope. Yep.
Yeah, you do.
Ooh. Y'all can't wait to see it though, can you? You know where you'll see it? Probably on social media too. Instagram at Oysters Clams Cockles, Twitter at Clams and Cockles, Facebook.com/Oysters Clams Cockles. My name is Ross Bolin. Follow me at WR Bolin on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. You can also catch me on Twitch.tv/Boss Rollin. That's Ross Bolin with the B and the R reverse. Very clever, sneaky. And also listen to the Ross Bolin podcast every week on Monday and Wednesday, wherever you listen to OCC. We drop 2 episodes of RBP week in and week out, the Ross Bolin podcast, hosted by myself with my co-host Chris Colson, where we talk about, it's a comedy and humor show with a focus on mental health and current events and sports and music and history and serial killers and pirates, and we have a good time. So the Ross Bolin podcast, wherever you listen to OCC. Mr. Dudley, where can we follow you on social media and hear more of your voice?
Are you challenging me to a walk-off?
Boo! Boo!
Lander?
What a great show. Movie. What a great movie.
Listen
to your friend Billy Zane.
Listen to your friend Billy Zane. He's trying to help you out.
He's a cool guy.
Yeah. At Barrett Dudley, Instagram and Twitter. And check me out on the Club Cool podcast, wherever you're listening to this one, where we talk a little style, actually a lot of style, and a little bit of pop culture. Recent things that we've done on the podcast are answer listener questions about style. We had a great guest on last week who has a really cool brand called Uniform. Does a lot of awesome elevated basics based out of California.
Nice.
Great interview. And then we taste tested live on mic the Travis Scott meal.
Wow, a live review of the Travis Scott
McDonald's,
meal from McDonald's.
Which I'm
Disturbing.
pretty sure it was unprecedented for podcasts, which is good.
Never been done before.
Because these are unprecedented times.
They are.
And yeah, man. So just a bunch of good stuff over there.
Huzzah!
Huzzah!
Indeed. And that will do it for today's episode of Oysters, Clams, and Cockles. Thank you all again for being here. Thanks for supporting the show week in and week out. Thanks to everybody on patreon.com/Oysters, Clams, Cockles for allowing us to bring you more OCC ad-free every month in exchange for your support. Y'all are awesome. Until our next helping. You got something else to say?
It's a walk-off.
It's a walk-off.
It's a walk-off.
It's a walk-off.